Welcome to Tales by Felix, where every story unlocks a new world. Remember to subscribe, like and share. Let's begin. Golden sunlight filtering through a cozy suburban kitchen. Amelia, a vibrant woman in her early 30s with kind eyes and a quick smile, is laughing as she flips pancakes. David, her husband, a charming man with a neatly trimmed beard, sneaks up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. The footage feels like a home video, intimate and nostalgic, with upbeat acoustic music playing softly. "You're gonna burn those, babe," David teases, his voice smooth as honey. Amelia swats him playfully with a spatula, her laughter infectious. "Then you'll just have to eat my crispy masterpieces," she retorts, her eyes sparkling. Their living room, where framed photos of their wedding, vacations, and holidays adorn the walls. It's the kind of home that screams stability, love, and dreams built together. A voiceover, Amelia's, soft but reflective, begins, "We had it all. A house, a life, a future. Or so I thought." The music shifts, a subtle minor chord creeping in, hinting at something ominous. The scene transitions to a montage of their perfect life. David and Amelia at a neighborhood barbecue, clinking glasses with friends, Amelia teaching a yoga class, her face serene, David in a sharp suit, shaking hands at a business event. But then, a flicker of tension. David's phone buzzes on the counter. He glances at it, his smile faltering for a split second before he silences it. Amelia, oblivious, hands him a plate of pancakes. "Work again?" she asks, her tone light but curious. "Always," he replies, his eyes avoiding hers. The footage slows, zooming in on David's face as he sips his coffee, his expression unreadable. The voiceover returns, "I didn't see the cracks. Not until it was too late." Suddenly, the screen cuts to black. A piercing wail of police sirens erupts, and red and blue lights flash through the darkness. The camera pans to Amelia's face, now pale and confused, as she stands at the living room window. Her breath catches as she watches 3 police cars pull up to their pristine suburban home. The music swells, chaotic and urgent, as the doorbell rings, a sound that feels like a guillotine dropping. The screen freezes on Amelia's wide, terrified eyes, with bold text flashing across, "What did David do?" The knock at the door. The doorbell echoes again, each chime heavier than the last. Amelia stands frozen, her hand clutching the curtain. The camera cuts to David, who's already moving toward the door, his posture oddly calm, almost rehearsed. "I'll get it," he says, his voice steady, but there's a glint in his eyes, something cold, calculated. Amelia nods, her heart pounding visibly through her quick breaths. The door swings open, revealing 2 stern-faced police officers, their badges glinting under the porch light. "Mrs. Amelia Carter?" the lead officer, a grizzled man with a no-nonsense demeanor, asks. Amelia steps forward, her voice trembling. "That's me. What's going on?" The officer's eyes narrow. "We need to speak with you. Now." Behind him, more officers fan out, their radios crackling with static. The scene shifts to a handheld camera style, amplifying the chaos as officers step inside, their boots thudding on the hardwood floor. Amelia's confusion is palpable. Her hands fidget as she glances at David, who stands to the side, arms crossed, watching silently. "David, what's happening?" she whispers, her voice breaking. He places a hand on her shoulder, his touch oddly formal. "It's probably nothing, babe. Just answer their questions." The lead officer, Detective Harris, pulls out a tablet and swipes through it. "Mrs. Carter, do you know anything about a robbery at First National Bank 3 days ago? Over $500,000 stolen." Amelia's jaw drops, her eyes darting between the officers and David. "A robbery? No, I don't know anything about that." Her voice rises, laced with panic. Harris's gaze is unyielding. "We have reason to believe you're involved. We need to search the premises." The officers as they methodically comb through the house, opening drawers, flipping cushions. Amelia trails them, her protests growing frantic. "This is insane. I'm a yoga instructor, not a criminal." David follows, his face a mask of concern, but his eyes flicker to a specific closet door in the hallway. The tension builds as an officer approaches it, and David's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. The chapter ends with Harris turning to Amelia, his voice grave. "Mrs. Carter, You're under arrest for suspected involvement in the first national bank robbery. The camera zooms in on Amelia's stunned face as handcuffs click around her wrists. She turns to David, tears streaming down her cheeks. David, tell them I didn't do this. David's eyes glisten with what looks like tears, but his voice is eerily calm. I'm so sorry, Amelia. Colors softer, almost dreamlike. It's 6 months earlier, and Amelia and David are at a local cafe, laughing over coffee. The camera lingers on David as his phone buzzes again. He glances at it, his smile fading, and quickly tucks it away. Amelia, sipping her latte, doesn't notice. Work's got you on a leash, huh? She teases. David forces a chuckle. Yeah, just big project coming up. The scene shifts to another memory. David stepping out of a sleek black car driven by a woman with sharp features and dark sunglasses, Sarah. Amelia, watering plants on their porch, waves cheerfully, but Sarah doesn't acknowledge her. David hurries inside, avoiding Amelia's curious gaze. New client? Amelia asks, her tone light. Something like that, David mutters, brushing past her. The voiceover returns. I thought it was just stress. I didn't see the signs. More flashes of David's odd behavior follow. Late-night phone calls he takes in the garage, his sudden interest in a flashy new watch that seems out of place with his modest salary, and a locked briefcase he keeps in his office. The camera zooms in on Amelia's face during one scene, where she finds the briefcase and hesitates, her fingers hovering over the lock. What are you hiding, David? She whispers to herself, but she doesn't open it. A dinner party where Sarah, introduced as David's colleague, is overly familiar with him, her hand lingering on his arm. Amelia watches, her smile strained. Later, in the kitchen, she confronts David softly. Sarah seems close to you, she says, her voice tentative. David laughs it off, pulling her into a hug. You're imagining things, babe. She's just intense about work. But as he hugs her, his eyes dart to the doorway where Sarah stands, watching with a smirk. Back in the present, with Amelia in the police car, her face pressed against the window as the house fades into the distance. The voiceover is heavy with regret. I trusted him. I trusted us. But the truth was right there all along. The screen flashes to a close-up of David's new watch, ticking ominously, with text. What was he planning? He cart her home, now a crime scene buzzing with police activity. The camera follows Detective Harris as he directs officers to the hallway closet, the same one David glanced at earlier. Amelia, still in handcuffs, watches from the living room, her face a mix of dread and confusion. You're making a mistake, she pleads, her voice hoarse. Harris ignores her, nodding to an officer who opens the closet door. Dramatic, slow-motion shot as the officer pulls out a black duffel bag. The sound of a zipper is amplified, almost deafening, as he reveals stacks of cash bundled in neat rows and a burner phone tucked inside. The room falls silent, the officers exchanging glances. Harris turns to Amelia, holding up the bag. Care to explain this, Mrs. Carter? Amelia's knees buckle, and she shakes her head violently. That's not mine. I've never seen it before. To David, standing in the corner, his face a perfect mask of shock. But a subtle close-up catches his fingers twitching, betraying his nerves. Amelia's voice cracks as she turns to him. David, tell them. You know I didn't do this. David steps forward, his voice soft but strained. Amelia, I don't know what to say. I had no idea. His words sound hollow, and the camera lingers on Amelia's face as betrayal dawns in her eyes. Flashbacks intersperse the scene, showing David late at night, slipping the duffel bag into the closet while Amelia sleeps upstairs. The burner phone screen glows as he types a quick message, "It's done." The recipient's name is obscured, but the implication is clear. The voiceover returns, chilling, "Someone wanted me gone. And they made sure I'd take the fall." Amelia being led out of the house, the duffel bag now in an evidence bag. The camera pans to the neighbors gathered on the lawn, whispering and recording with their phones. One voice, barely audible, says, "I always knew something was off with them." The screen fades to black with text, "Planted evidence or guilty secret." The tangible proof of the cash and burner phone, combined with Amelia's desperate pleas, creates a gut-punch moment. Amelia in the back of the police car, her hands cuffed, her face streaked with tears. The camera captures the flashing lights reflecting off the window, amplifying her isolation. The voiceover is raw. In one moment, my entire world collapsed. And the man I loved just watched. The car pulls away, and the camera shifts to David standing on the porch, his expression one of practiced sorrow. But as the car disappears, he exhales, his shoulders relaxing slightly, a detail only the sharpest viewers will catch. The police station, where Amelia is processed. The harsh fluorescent lights and cold metal of the booking area contrast sharply with the warmth of her home. An officer takes her fingerprints, and she flinches at the ink on her hands. "I'm not a criminal," she whispers, more to herself than anyone else. The officer, a young woman with a sympathetic but professional demeanor, avoids her gaze. "Just follow the procedure, ma'am." Outside, a crowd has gathered, drawn by the sirens and gossip. The camera captures shaky cell phone footage from a bystander, showing Amelia being led into the station, her head bowed. Whispers ripple through the crowd. "She seemed so nice. I heard it was a bank heist. Her poor husband." The footage goes viral on social media, with hashtags like #bankrobberwife trending. A news anchor's voice cuts in, "Amelia Carter, a local yoga instructor, arrested in connection to a daring bank robbery." Inside, Amelia sits in an interrogation room, her hands trembling. Detective Harris slides a photo of the duffel bag across the table. "This was in your closet, Mrs. Carter. Your fingerprints are on the burner phone." Amelia's eyes widen. "That's impossible. I've never touched it." Harris leans forward, his voice low. "Then how did it get there? You live alone with your husband. No signs of a break-in." Amelia's voice breaks. "I don't know. Someone must have." She stops, her mind racing to David's calm demeanor, his avoidance of her pleas. Amelia being led to a holding cell, the door slamming shut with a clang that echoes. Her face, her eyes hollow but burning with a flicker of defiance. The voiceover returns, "They thought they'd broken me. But I wasn't going to let them win." Gray walls of a prison cell. Amelia sits on a thin mattress, her knees pulled to her chest, her once vibrant eyes dulled by shock. The distant clang of metal doors and muffled shouts of inmates echo, amplifying her isolation. The camera lingers on her trembling hands, still smudged with fingerprint ink. Her voiceover, raw and heavy, begins, "I kept replaying that day, searching for answers. How could David let this happen?" A flashback shows Amelia's last moment with David before her arrest. As she's led to the police car, she pleads, "David, you know I'm innocent. Do something." His response is a quiet, "I'll fix this, I promise," but his eyes avoid hers, and the camera catches a fleeting smirk, subtle enough to spark viewer speculation. Back in the cell, Amelia whispers to herself, "He lied to me. Every day, every moment." The prison yard, where Amelia, in an ill-fitting jumpsuit, navigates a sea of hardened inmates. The camera pans to a woman leaning against a fence, her sharp gaze fixed on Amelia. This is Clara, mid-40s, with a weathered face and a knowing smirk. She approaches, her voice low but firm. "You don't belong here, yoga girl. But you're not getting out unless you fight smart." Amelia, startled, stammers, "I don't even know why I'm here." Clara leans closer, her tone cryptic. "Oh, someone knows. And they're counting on you breaking." She walks away, leaving Amelia stunned. Amelia alone in her cell, staring at a small, barred window. The voiceover returns, "I was alone, betrayed by the man I loved." But Clara's words lit a spark. "I wasn't going to give up." The screen cuts to black with bold text, "Who can she trust?" The ominous music swells, leaving viewers desperate for the next piece of the puzzle. Amelia's vulnerability in prison, paired with Clara's mysterious warning, creates an emotional hook and introduces a new layer of intrigue. A cramped prison visitation room, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Amelia sits across from Ben, a disheveled lawyer in his late 30s, with tired eyes but a determined jaw. His suit is slightly wrinkled, hinting at long hours and a personal stake in his cases. His notepad, scribbled with notes about Amelia's case. "Mrs. Carter, I'm Ben Harper. Your public defender," he says, his tone professional but warm. Amelia's voice is flat, defeated. "I didn't do it. But no one believes me." Ben leans forward, studying her. I've seen a lot of guilty people, Amelia. You don't strike me as one. Tell me everything. Amelia hesitates, then spills her story. The perfect marriage, David's odd behavior, the sudden arrest. Her voice breaks as she says, "He just stood there while they took me away." Ben's eyes narrow, and a flashback reveals why he's invested. A young Ben watching his own sister, wrongfully accused, led away in handcuffs. His voiceover cuts in, "I failed her. I won't fail again." Ben's cluttered office, where he pores over case files late at night. He pauses at a photo of David and Sarah at a corporate event, his brow furrowing. "Something's off," he mutters to himself, circling Sarah's face. He calls a contact, a gruff private investigator named Mike. "Dig into David Carter's finances and anyone named Sarah in his orbit," Ben says. Mike chuckles. "You smell a rat, don't you?" Ben's response is firm, "A big one." Ben visiting Amelia again, his expression resolute. "I believe you, Amelia. And I'm going to prove it." She looks at him, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time. The screen fades to black with text, "A fight for justice begins." The music shifts to an uplifting beat, signaling a turning point. Ben's introduction as a relatable, driven ally injects hope into the story, while his backstory adds depth. A news broadcast, a polished anchor reporting, David Carter speaks out about his wife's shocking arrest. The camera cuts to David, standing outside their home, his face etched with sorrow. "I'm devastated," he says, his voice cracking just enough to seem genuine. "I never imagined Amelia could do something like this." His expensive watch, a detail that doesn't match his grieving persona. Ben, watching the broadcast in his office, scoffs. "Devastated, my ass." He pulls up David's bank records, provided by Mike. The camera zooms in on suspicious transactions, large cash withdrawals and transfers to an offshore account. Ben mutters, "What were you buying, David?" A flashback shows David meeting Sarah in a dimly lit bar, their heads close together. Sarah slides him an envelope, her voice low. "This covers the debt. Stick to the plan." David nods, his expression cold. The scene shifts to Ben interviewing a barista from the cafe where David and Sarah met. The barista, a nervous college student, fidgets. "Yeah, I saw them a few times. They didn't act like colleagues. More like lovers." Ben's eyes light up. "Did you overhear anything?" The barista hesitates. "Once, she said something about making sure it sticks." "I thought it was weird." Ben jots it down, his mind racing. Ben visiting Amelia in prison, showing her a photo of David and Sarah together. Amelia's face hardens. "That's her. The woman from the dinner party." Ben nods. "They're hiding something, Amelia. And I'm going to find out what." The screen cuts to black with text, the lies unravel. The music is tense, promising more revelations. David's fake grief contrasted with Ben's discoveries fuel suspicion, while the barista's testimony adds credibility. A flashback, 6 months before the robbery. The setting is a sleek, modern apartment, Sarah's. David sits on a leather couch, his posture tense. Sarah, poised and calculating, pours him a drink. "You're drowning in debt, David," she says, her voice smooth but edged. "The business is tanking. But I can fix it." David looks wary. "How?" Sarah smirks, sliding a blueprint of First National Bank across the table. "We take what we need. And we make sure someone else takes the fall." The camera zooms in on David's conflicted face. "Amelia, she doesn't deserve this." Sarah leans closer, her tone seductive yet firm. "She's your anchor, David. Cut her loose, and we're free. You and me." The scene cuts to them planting the duffel bag in Amelia's closet, Sarah instructing David on where to place the burner phone. "Her fingerprints are already on it," Sarah says, holding up a glass Amelia used. David hesitates, then nods, his jaw set. Back in the present, Ben uncovers a witness statement from a bank employee who saw a man matching David's description near the bank before the robbery. The camera shows Ben confronting the employee, a nervous older woman. "You're sure it was him?" he asks. She nods. "He was with a woman. They looked purposeful." Ben's voiceover cuts in, the pieces were falling into place. David wasn't just complicit, he was the architect. With Amelia in her cell, clutching a photo of her and David from happier times. Her voiceover is steely, "I loved you, David. But you chose her. And now I'm going to fight back." The screen fades to black with text, "The mastermind revealed." The flashback revealing David and Sarah's plot is a shocking twist, while the witness statement adds weight. A dimly lit prison library, where Amelia meets Leo, a wiry, tattooed hacker in his 20s, serving time for cybercrimes. Clara, who introduced them, watches from a corner. "Leo's the best with computers," Clara says. "He can find things the cops can't." Leo grins, cracking his knuckles. "What's your husband hiding, yoga lady?" Amelia slides him a photo of David and Sarah. "Everything." Leo hunched over a smuggled laptop, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The screen shows deleted text messages between David and Sarah, recovered through Leo's skills. One message reads, "She's out of the picture soon. We split the cash 50/50ths." Another shows a bank transfer to Sarah's account, dated the day before the robbery. Leo whistles. "Your husband's a real piece of work." Ben, now working with Leo's intel, meets Mike at a diner. Mike hands over a USB drive. Financials, phone records, even GPS data. "Your guy was at the bank the day it went down." Ben's eyes gleam. This is it. The nail in his coffin. The camera shows a montage of Ben compiling evidence, screenshots of texts, bank statements, and a map pinning David's movements. Ben visiting Amelia, his excitement palpable. "We've got him, Amelia. Digital proof doesn't lie." Amelia's eyes fill with tears, but her voice is firm. "Then let's bury him." The screen cuts to black with text. The truth comes to light. The music is triumphant, signaling a turning point. Leo's hacking and the digital evidence provide a modern, relatable twist, appealing to tech-savvy viewers. A dimly lit diner, the air thick with cigarette smoke and the hum of a jukebox. Ben sits across from Tony, a jittery, small-time crook with a patchy beard, his eyes darting nervously. Clara's connections led Ben to Tony, a low-level accomplice in David's scheme. The camera zooms in on Tony's trembling hands as he grips a coffee mug. "I didn't sign up for this," Tony mutters. Ben leans forward, his voice low but firm. "Then talk, Tony. Tell me what David and Sarah did." A flashback reveals Tony's role. He's seen in a dark alley, handing David a burner phone, his face pale. Sarah stands nearby, her expression cold. "You messed this up, Tony, and you're done," she hisses. David, calmer but no less menacing, adds, "Stick to the plan, and you get your cut." Back in the diner, Tony spills. "They needed a fall guy, your client. David said she'd never see it coming. Sarah, she's the brains. Scary smart." Ben's eyes narrow. What was their endgame? Tony hesitates, then whispers, "The money was just the start. They wanted a new life. Together." Ben relaying the information to Amelia in the prison visitation room. Her face hardens as she processes Tony's words. "A new life," she says, her voice trembling with anger. "He threw away ours for her?" Ben nods, sliding a notebook across the table. "Tony's willing to testify, Amelia. This changes everything." The scene shifts to Ben meeting with a prosecutor, laying out Tony's statement alongside Leo's digital evidence. The prosecutor, a stern woman, raises an eyebrow. "This is compelling, Harper. But we need more to overturn her conviction." Amelia in her cell, clutching a letter from Ben that reads, "We're close." Her voiceover is resolute. "David thought he'd buried me. But the truth was clawing its way out." Social media posts, tweets, TikToks, and YouTube videos dissecting Amelia's case. A viral hashtag, #FreeAmeliaCarter, trends as online sleuths analyze David's news interview, pointing out his fake tears and pricey watch. A young influencer's voiceover declares, "This guy's lying through his teeth." The camera shows Ben in his office, smirking as he scrolls through the posts. "The internet's doing half my job," he mutters. Ben strategically leaks parts of Tony's statement to a true crime blogger, Mia, who runs a popular YouTube channel. In a dimly lit studio, Mia records a video, her tone urgent. New evidence suggests Amelia Carter was framed by her own husband. Look at this transaction. $200,000 to an offshore account the day after the robbery. The camera zooms in on screenshots of David's bank records, carefully redacted but damning. Her video explodes, racking up millions of views. The scene shifts to a coffee shop where David and Sarah watch Mia's video on a phone, their faces tense. Sarah slams the table. How did they get this? David's voice is strained. Tony. That idiot must have talked. Sarah glares at him. Fix it, David. Or we're both done. The camera catches David's fear, a crack in his confident facade. Back in prison, Amelia watches a news report about the growing public support. Clara, sitting beside her in the common room, grins. The world's waking up, yoga girl. You're not alone anymore. Amelia's eyes glisten, but she nods firmly. I'm getting out. And they're going down. David pacing in his now empty home, the walls stripped of Amelia's photos. His phone buzzes with notifications, news alerts, angry comments, and messages from Sarah. The camera zooms in on one. Meet me now. We're losing control. David's face is haggard, his once polished appearance unraveling. The voiceover, Ben's, cuts in. Their perfect plan was crumbling. And they knew it. The camera cuts to a tense meeting in a motel room, where Sarah, her composure fraying, confronts David. You said this was foolproof, she snaps, throwing a news article about #Free Amelia Carter at him. David fires back. You're the one who pushed for Tony. He's weak. Sarah's eyes flash. Don't pin this on me. You wanted her gone as much as I did. The camera lingers on their argument, revealing their paranoia and crumbling alliance. Meanwhile, Ben and Mike dig deeper, uncovering security footage from a gas station near the bank, showing David's car the day of the robbery. Mike grins. Gotcha. Ben sends the footage to Mia, who posts it online, sparking another wave of public outrage. The camera shows comments flooding in, "That's his car. He framed her." David watches the video on his phone, his hands shaking. He calls Sarah, his voice desperate. They've got footage. We need to run. Sarah's response is cold. You run, you're on your own. Amelia in the prison library, reading a news article about the footage. Leo, nearby, smirks. Your husband's toast, yoga lady. Amelia's voiceover is steely. They thought they could break me. But I was just getting started. The screen fades to black with text. Their lies collapse. The prison visitation room, the air thick with tension. Amelia sits across from David, separated by a glass partition. Her eyes burn with a mix of pain and fury, while David's forced calm is barely holding. The camera zooms in on Amelia's clenched fists as she speaks, her voice steady but sharp. Why, David? Why did you do this to me? David leans forward, his tone rehearsed. Amelia, I had no idea about the money, I swear. She cuts him off, slamming her hand against the glass. Don't lie to me. I know about Sarah. I know about the bank. A flashback shows Ben prepping Amelia for the confrontation, handing her a folder of evidence. Tony's statement, the bank records, the gas station footage. He'll crack if you push him, Ben says. You're stronger than he is. Back in the present, David's composure falters, his eyes darting to the guard nearby. You're wrong, Amelia. You're grasping at straws. But Amelia leans closer, her voice low and fierce. Tony talked. The footage doesn't lie. And Sarah, she's turning on you. I see it in your eyes. You're scared. The camera catches David's sweat beading, his fingers twitching. He tries to recover, his voice rising. You're delusional, Amelia. This is why you're here. But Amelia doesn't flinch. I trusted you. I loved you. And you sold me out for her. The guard signals time's up, but Amelia's final words linger. This isn't over, David. The camera zooms in on David's face, his mask slipping, revealing raw fear. The chapter ends with Ben watching the recorded confrontation, nodding approvingly. His voiceover is confident. She broke him. Now we finish this. The screen cuts to black with text. The showdown begins. The music is intense, amplifying the emotional high point. Sarah's sleek apartment, now cluttered with empty wine bottles and scattered papers. Sarah paces, her phone buzzing with missed calls from David. The camera zooms in on her reflection in a mirror, her face etched with guilt and fear. A flashback reveals her doubts. Months ago, during the planning, Sarah hesitates as David plants the burner phone. "What if she fights back?" she asks. David scoffs. "Amelia. She's too soft. She'll break." Sarah nods, but her eyes betray uncertainty. In the present, Sarah watches Mia's latest video, which includes the gas station footage. She mutters, "Damn it, David." The camera cuts to a heated phone call with him. "You said no one would find out," she yells. David's voice is frantic. "They're closing in, Sarah. We need to stick together." Sarah slams the phone down, her hands shaking. A flashback shows her watching Amelia at the dinner party, a flicker of envy in her eyes, not just for David, but for Amelia's warmth, her life. The scene shifts to Ben, who receives an anonymous tip, a voicemail from Sarah, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she says. "Meet me. I'll tell you everything." Ben plays the message for Amelia, whose eyes widen. "She's breaking," Amelia says, her voice a mix of hope and disbelief. Ben nods. "This is our chance." Sarah alone, staring at a photo of her and David, her face crumpling. Her voiceover, a rare moment of vulnerability, cuts in, "I thought I was in control. But I was wrong." The screen fades to black with text, "The villain crumbles." The music is somber, hinting at Sarah's impending confession. A bustling courthouse, cameras flashing as Amelia, now out on bail thanks to Ben's efforts, steps out of a car. Her face is resolute, but her eyes betray the weight of the past months. The camera pans to a crowd of supporters waving #FreeAmeliaCarter signs, their chants echoing, "Justice for Amelia." A news anchor's voice cuts in, "The retrial of Amelia Carter has gripped the nation, with new evidence pointing to a shocking conspiracy." Social media clips flood the screen, showing viral posts and live streams dissecting the case. Inside the courtroom, Ben delivers a powerful opening statement, his voice steady but passionate. Amelia Carter was framed by those she trusted most. "Today, we'll prove it." The camera zooms in on the jury, their faces rapt, and then to David, sitting in the gallery, his jaw tight. Sarah is absent, her empty seat a silent omen. Ben presents Tony's testimony and Leo's digital evidence, each piece meticulously laid out, bank records, text messages, and the gas station footage. The prosecutor, now skeptical of the original case, listens intently. Amelia, seated at the defense table, glances at David. Their eyes meet, and his flicker with fear before he looks away. A flashback shows Ben prepping her the night before, "Stay strong, Amelia. The truth is on our side." She nods, her voice firm. "I'm ready." The scene shifts to Mia, the true crime blogger, live streaming from the courthouse steps. "This is it, guys. Amelia's fighting back, and the evidence is undeniable." Her stream hits millions of views, amplifying the public's fervor. Amelia on the stand, her voice clear as she recounts her love for David and the betrayal that shattered her. "I trusted him," she says, tears brimming but her gaze steady. "But he used me." The screen fades to black with bold text, "The fight for justice begins." Uplifting music swells, signaling hope but leaving the outcome uncertain. The courtroom is tense, the air thick with anticipation. Sarah takes the stand, her once confident demeanor replaced by a haunted look. Her hands tremble as she's sworn in, and the camera zooms in on her darting eyes. Ben, calm but relentless, begins his questioning. "Ms. Lawson, did you conspire with David Carter to frame Amelia Carter for the first national bank robbery?" Sarah hesitates, her lips quivering. The camera cuts to David, his face pale, sweat beading on his forehead. A flashback reveals Sarah's breaking point. Alone in her apartment, she watches Mia's latest video, which includes her anonymous voicemail. She crumples, sobbing, as she realizes the walls are closing in. Back in the courtroom, Sarah's voice cracks. "I didn't want it to go this far," she says, tears streaming. The gallery gasps as she continues, "David was in debt. I helped plan the robbery, but framing Amelia, that was his idea." The camera zooms in on Amelia, her eyes wide with vindication but also pain. Ben presses further, presenting the text messages Leo uncovered. "These show you and David planning the frame-up. Is that correct? Sarah nods, her voice barely audible. Yes. I'm sorry. David bolts upright, shouting, "She's lying!" But the judge silences him. The camera captures the jury's stunned expressions and the crowd's murmurs. A news ticker flashes. Sarah Lawson confesses in Carter case. Amelia stepping outside the courthouse, overwhelmed by supporters chanting her name. Her voiceover is raw. The truth was out, but it didn't erase the pain. The courtroom in chaos after Sarah's confession. David is escorted out in handcuffs, his face a mask of rage and defeat. The camera follows him as he's shoved into a police van, reporters swarming. A news anchor reports, David Carter, once a grieving husband, now faces charges for conspiracy and robbery. Social media clips show #JusticeForAmelia trending, with fans celebrating. Inside, the judge reads the verdict, "Amelia Carter, you are hereby acquitted of all charges." Amelia collapses into Ben's arms, sobbing with relief. Clara, watching from the gallery, wipes a tear, while Leo, also present, gives a triumphant fist pump. The camera lingers on Amelia's face, a mix of joy and exhaustion, as supporters cheer. A flashback shows her in her cell, promising herself she'd survive. "I kept that promise," her voiceover says. The scene shifts to David's sentencing hearing, where he receives a 7-year sentence. Sarah, having taken a plea deal, faces 5 years. The camera captures their final exchange in the courtroom hallway, David hissing, "You ruined everything." Sarah's response is cold, "You did that yourself." The public's reaction is shown through viral tweets, "They got what they deserved," and "Amelia's a hero." With Amelia walking out of the courthouse, free at last, as cameras flash. Her voiceover is hopeful, "They took everything from me, but I took my life back." Amelia in a small apartment, unpacking boxes. The space is modest but warm, a stark contrast to the prison cell. She hangs a photo of herself and Clara, a reminder of her unlikely ally. Her voiceover reflects, "Freedom didn't erase the scars, but it gave me a chance to heal." The camera shows her tentative steps back into life, attending a yoga class, her students welcoming her with hugs, meeting Ben for coffee, their bond now one of friendship. A flashback shows Amelia's first moments of freedom, overwhelmed by the crowd's support but haunted by David's betrayal. Clara visits, offering blunt wisdom, "You're tougher than you think, yoga girl. Keep going." Leo, now out on parole, helps Amelia set up a blog to share her story, which gains traction online. A clip of her first post goes viral, "I was framed, but I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor." The scene shifts to Amelia speaking at a community center, advocating for wrongful conviction victims. Her voice is steady, passionate, "No one should lose everything to lies." The audience applauds, and Ben, in the crowd, smiles proudly. Moment where Amelia visits her old home, now for sale, and whispers, "This wasn't my life. Not anymore." Amelia teaching a yoga class, her smile genuine for the first time. Her voiceover is uplifting, "I lost everything, but I found myself." A montage of David in prison, his once charming demeanor replaced by a hollow stare. He sits alone in a cell, the camera zooming in on his clenched fists. A news report plays, David Carter's scheme to frame his wife shocked the nation, but Amelia Carter is rising above. The contrast is stark. Amelia, now thriving, speaks at a national conference on wrongful convictions, her voice powerful. "Betrayal tried to break me, but I'm here to fight for others." Flashbacks recap the scheme, David and Sarah's plotting, the planted evidence, Tony's betrayal, and Sarah's confession. The camera lingers on key moments, Amelia's arrest, her confrontation with David, the courtroom victory, tying the story together. Social media clips show her story inspiring others, with #SurvivorStrong trending. The scene shifts to Amelia meeting with Clara and Leo, now her closest allies. Clara grins, "Told you you're tough, yoga girl." Leo adds, "You're basically a legend now." Amelia laughs, a sound of genuine joy. Her launching a non-profit for wrongful conviction victims, with Ben as her legal advisor. A final flashback shows Amelia in her cell, vowing to survive, juxtaposed with her now, standing tall. The chapter ends with Amelia at sunset, practicing yoga on a beach, her face serene. Her voiceover is powerful, trust can be broken, but the truth endures. "I'm not just surviving, I'm living." The screen fades to black with text, Her story inspires the world. The music is soaring, leaving a lasting impact and hinting at Amelia's future advocacy. The end.